Mickey and I send greetings from Castle Goring. We're preparing for Christmas, and I'm sure so are you. Unfortunately, Mickey's hairdresser is so completely booked up that she's not going to be able to be beautified until the new year. But I think she's so beautiful in any weddings that it doesn't really matter. So, if I may, I will plunge right in. Colleen McLaughlin says, on a personal note, is there a secret to being able to maintain the stiff upper lip? You mentioned not crying during the Cagney musical. I try to busy my mind when in this position in order to maintain an element of composure. But I notice the royal family is very adept at maintaining composure during some of the most difficult times. Any help you can provide on this would most definitely serve me well. Please and thank you. Have a wonderful Christmas. Hugs to yourself and Mickey. Stay safe. Kisses. Well, I don't really know what to say. I suppose I'll just say what I do. Okay? I was brought up in a world where people don't make exhibitions of themselves publicly, and public displays of affection are completely verboten, and public displays of emotion aren't that far behind. Well, funnily enough, grief. Preferably not to lose your temper with too much alacrity, although I do that and I don't mind. So, funnily enough, anger seems to be the one thing that one is allowed to express, and to do it as expressively as one wishes. Some of us more extreme than others. I think those of you who've seen me in the jungle know that I don't hold back. But in terms of grief, and also, of course, if somebody wants me to be angry, then I won't be angry. So, but in terms of grief, well, or just showing you sadness, that's a bit of a no-no. Except, well, even with very close friends, and relations, one shows some, but if you're going to really have a wallow, I like wallowing in person, alone, maybe with Mickey and Treasure the cat. But what do? I can think of two instances where I was perilous, actually three as I stop to think of it, where I was perilously close to tears. One was in the Cagney musical, because it really was very moving. I mean, the way they cover his relationship with his wife and his mother is just wonderful. The other was recently at my stepbrother-in-law's funeral, where it was obvious that many of us were very sad and perilously close to breaking down, but nobody broke down. And years ago at Victoria Weymouth's funeral, so sad, so sad. So what do I do in a situation like that? First of all, I stand up or sit up extremely erectly and breathe. That usually does the trick. And you don't need to do anything more. Well, I don't need to do anything more. I just breathe and get a grip. I don't know how helpful that is. So we'll move on to the next thing. Sheila Perone says, Dear Lady C, another wonderful video. Thank you. Thank you. I wish you had one on a daily basis, darling. Please don't wish that on me. I don't think I could cope. 3 a week are just about all I'm capable of. You have no idea how time consuming it is and the preparation involved. So please, not every day. But thanks for the thought. You could discuss anything and everything. I don't think so. You are a great comfort to all of us that love you. Thank you. That's really wonderful to hear. My question today is, there is talk that the half-wit and his wife will be splitting, not a divorce, but working separately. They are taking this advice from their PR people, I'm assuming. Apparently they have been told they would have more success and make more money in big block capitals should they go down this route. Of course, this won't work either. Also, it is taking far too long for their downfall to happen, in my opinion. Oh dear. Can I ask you, what would it take for Markle to leave him? And why are they going after Charles? What are they trying to achieve? Many thanks. Oh dear. Well, if I may take it in tranches, I think their advice is actually very good advice. Splitting them up gives them twice the opportunity, twice the maneuverability, twice the mobility. If something backfires on one of them, the hope is the other won't be tainted the way they are being when they do things jointly. So really, they're getting 2 bites of the cherry instead of 1. Also, I think she will only leave him, if ever, when something bigger and better comes along. She's going to need something that is a better supply of what she requires. And I have no doubt that it is a combination of worldly as well as personal. Not that easy to replace. Why are they going after Charles? Well, I think they've gone after Charles for a variety of reasons. It plays well with their victim narrative, where they are both victims of beastly fathers who've been kind and generous and loving and gave them everything. Beastly fathers, beastly. Those of us who didn't have fathers who were quite so obliging have counted our blessings. But they, no. I think they need to have targets and they need to have excuses for their victimhood. And their fathers are targets. You know, they need enemies. People like that always need enemies. Or targets. But really, the target is somebody they've put in an adversarial position. So they've made that person, even if that person isn't an enemy, into their enemy. It's a very, very unkind game to play, I think. Well, you could say that Thomas Markle is the ideal victim. But an even more ideal victim is the next King of England, the Prince of Wales. I mean, gosh, can you imagine the upgrade from Thomas Markle, Emmy-winning lighting engineer, to the next King of England? Oh my gosh, you talk about scratching your way up that social ladder and crawling and climbing. Oh, what an accomplishment. A better class of victim. Ooh, that means I'm special. I'm much, much more special than you, because my target is the next King of England. Am I just not so special? It used to be said that you could show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. An old adage. Well, now, according to the Meghans and Harrys of this world, it's show me your targets and I'll tell you who you are. A better class of target, as I have just said. There's also the whole business of, it looks as if they're trying to bully Charles and the royal family and the institution of the monarchy into submission with tactics that strike me and many people as extortionate, to put it mildly. Presumably, the object of the exercise is to, and it's usually a twofold object. So I think the main hoped for object would be for them to get everything they want, and the supplementary consolation prize would be, since they don't get it, they've not only had the satisfaction of grinding the source of water they require, which refuses to give it to them, into the dust, but to sully and denigrate and make, as far as they can, despicable their adversary. Very ugly game to play. But that seems to be the game they have been playing. And if I'm wrong, all I can say is my conclusions have been arrived at as a result of their conduct. So if I'm wrong, I would love them to show me how I am wrong by showing me a more acceptable and admirable form of conduct. Susan Emery says, "Hi, Lady C. I remember my whole family reading your book on Diana when it originally came out. It was a stunning game changer in relation to the Diana story." It certainly was, my God, I have to tell you. It was quite tumultuous. Thank you for your continuing insights. I'm glad you mentioned FOLIE A DEUX. I have wondered whether the Harkles suffer from a FOLIE A DEUX, as they appear to exhibit some traits of this condition. Well, I've been told by psychiatrists that they think they are suffering from FOLIE A DEUX. So let me put it that way. I am concerned that their children may become enmeshed in a dangerous psychosocial dynamic due to their paranoia, family abuse, and deliberate social isolation. It also appears that FOLIE A DEUX can be impossible to break or may result in catastrophic consequences. Just speculating, of course. Your insights on narcissism have been most helpful, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Well, yes, FOLIE A DEUX is very difficult to break because it's one person feeding the other person's fantasies and they're topping each other. There's a competitive element to it. There's also great excitement to it, especially when it's working well. FOLIE A DEUX starts to unravel when things aren't going so well. I don't think there's anything anybody can do short of what's being already done. Sorry, something's bothering my eye. Short of what's being done. I think, in life, things have to take their course. In this 12-step program, you teach people who don't yet know it. Don't force solutions. Let go and let God. Don't manipulate. Let it happen. It will happen. Your interference can actually delay a positive outcome, if there's going to be a positive outcome. And if there isn't a positive outcome, that's life. One learns as one gets older that some things end well, some things end badly. And you and I can do very little beyond being cautionary and loving in a particular way with those who are close to us, who are making grave mistakes. Loving detachment, but it is detachment, but it's loving. We are not God. There's nothing we can do beyond hopefully commenting, hopefully drawing the lessons that need to be drawn from it, and maybe an awful lot of praying. But even there, you can pray till you're blue in the face. As the Jamaicans say, if you're born to hang, you're not gonna drown. I think that's a wonderful expression that the Jamaican people have. I think it summarizes things perfectly. If you're born to hang, you will not drown. BRB says, love your videos, Lady C. Thank you very much. Can you make any sense of Meghan's comments that if she called on help for her father from the royal family, she would not be able to protect Archie later? That made absolutely no sense to me. It made no sense to me either. I don't know if you've figured it out yet, but I suspect you might have. A lot of what Meghan says doesn't make sense. One of her problems is things don't add up. She deals in non sequiturs as well. She deals in things that you start out making one point, it veers off onto a totally illogical element to either conclude the point or make a new point. I know as a fact that the palace were desperate in the run-up to the marriage to get assistance for Thomas Markle. I also know as a fact that Meghan is the one who refused this help. What does that have to do with being able to protect Archie later? Absolutely nothing. It's hodswallop. It's hogwash. It's horse manure. It is word salad. It is Meghan, yet again, coming out with words to cover her vacuity and making absolutely no sense. I mean, in Meghan's world, clearly, and in her scheme of things, if you do a favor for someone, that means you don't ever have to do another favor for them. But that's not how it works in civilized circles or in decent circles, or, and she will know, in loving circles. Her mother's family, the Raglans and the Johnsons, her father's family, the Markles, they time and again extended themselves for her. They gave her love, they gave her money, they gave her opportunities, they gave her assistance, they gave her help. Time and again. Why would Meghan think that if the royal family is going to do something for her father, that means they wouldn't be able to do it for Archie? First of all, Archie didn't exist at the time. Let's remember that. There was no assurance that Meghan could ever produce a child. When, in the run-up to her wedding, the palace wanted to give her father assistance. So where, in terms of logic and reality, can there possibly be a link between a father who the royal family want to help and she refuses to allow them to help, and the putative child who doesn't exist, might never exist? It's not possible to have a link. I think this is a sort of thing that one can safely say is insanity. Thinking like that is crazy. 1042 Firegirl says, some of these names, I tell you, I just love them. Isn't Harold deployed by Madge to the Aspen Institute, where he is working alongside a relative, daughter, I think, not sure, of Rupert Murdoch? How odd that his papers launch an offensive against the royals at this time. I see what you're hinting at. You're hinting at that the fact that Rupert Murdoch's daughter-in-law is on the Aspen Institute with Harry, that maybe there is room for leakage and room for comments that from their mouths, not to God's ear, but to Rupert's ear, and then to the copywriter's pen, or nowadays I suppose it's really the keyboard. I see where you're coming from with this. Well, newspapers get their information in all sorts of ways, and we know as a fact that both Meghan and Harry are only too happy to throw the royals under the bus publicly. So if they're prepared to do it publicly in front of the whole world, what makes us think they wouldn't do it privately? Huh? I mean, or do they think we haven't figured that one out? I mean, duh. I tell you, when you're dealing with crazy people, it's just amazing how exciting the thought processes are. Amy Petchich says, insightful that some of Meghan and Harry's followers are paid. I never comment on Twitter, but could not help myself when I saw how Meghan and Harry's PR friend amid scabies retweeted what, in my opinion, is a misleading photo of the Queen. I responded to a royal reporter who called out Scooby-Doo on Twitter regarding that particular post. I did not follow Scooby, but did notice the next day I was blocked from viewing his posts, and a sugar had replied to my comment. Seems highly orchestrated and swift. Odd to have people seemingly monitoring for every little comment that may not flatter Meghan, Harry, or Scooby-Doo. It's not only odd, it's sick, but it's also happening. I won't go into chapter and verse, but I can tell you I know an awful lot about their activities, some of which it would be inadvisable to reveal. You must never let others know everything that you know about them. And some things it's best, let's put it this way, in the poker game of life, don't scream, I've got 3 aces and 2 kings. It's not a good idea. But there is no doubt whatsoever that Sunshine Sachs have people, one of whose names is Elizabeth Thorpe, Elizabeth E. Thorpe, who carefully monitor things. They are alerted to things. They pick them off one at a time. They make complaints. Anybody can make a complaint, and they make complaints, and they cause inconvenience at best. What a massive, not only waste of energy and waste of resources and time and money, but what a massive waste of, how shall I put it, your life. People have to be very threatened by the truth to hate it to such an extent that they have to shut everybody down from speaking it. I mean, I don't monitor in terms of striking off people off this site. People can do and say within reason what they want. Of course, if it were defamatory, that's another matter. But putting that aside, there are people on this site who, and I can name some of them, because I know some of their names, who are what is commonly called sugars, and that's just on this site. And evidently on other sites, they're even worse. I mean, it's really sick. I mean, can you imagine what these people could accomplish if they would stop trying to control everybody and just started to control themselves? that would be a recipe for greater success. They haven't learned the lessons of Goebbels and Hitler and all of the other propagandists who try to get on top of the narrative and always steer things in the direction they wanted, so that every fiction that they came up with would be presented as fact. It ultimately never works. It never has, and it never will. Just as how water doesn't flow upwards. But they haven't figured that out yet. They may never figure it out. And certainly Sunshine Sachs is making a lot of money in the meantime, and they're in the business of making money to make money. But they are also, it has to be said, a deeply unpleasant organization with deeply unpleasant political views and political stances. Whatever happened to good, positive liberalism? Whatever happened to live and let live? Whatever happened to, I don't agree with you, but I will defend your right to the death to have your opinion? Pathetic. Janet Fitzpatrick says, Dear Lady C, I love your channel and have just watched your latest YouTube video. I made a comment about bullying and the removal of YouTubers. I then gave a reference to another YouTuber's site which had some excellent but extremely disturbing research on this. I left your site but returned a few minutes later to find my comment and recommendation had been removed, big block capitals. I am a technological dinosaur, but please can you get your site checked? My dear, there's no need for me to check it. I know exactly what's going on. They are all over everything like ants, actually like fleas. Well, fortunately, they are measured in their actions on this side, evidently less so on others. And I say fortunately, because let them go too far. Let them fall into my wasp's nest and let them get stung. As Justin Walford, who was the legal manager of Express newspapers, said to me in 1995, after several years of me slugging it out with them, he said, Lady Colin, I have to tell you, we sorely underestimated you. You are one of the most formidable adversaries I have ever come across. I said, Justin, don't tell me. Spread the word in Fleet Street. I don't ever trouble anybody, and God help those who trouble me. It's really good when you're never in the wrong, and you make sure you're not in the wrong, and you make sure that you never attack people unfairly and unjustly, that you only speak the truth and you stand up for what's good and right. Because ultimately you will prevail. So, Lily Miller says, someone is reporting comments and having comments removed for no valid reason other than they can't handle the truth. I've had at least 4 comments removed from Lady C's videos, and that's only the ones that I have noticed. Yeah, as I've said, there are people who are paid. They're in social media. The people on Twitter, there are people on all these media sites. They police what is being said, and if they don't like what is being said about a certain couple, because it only seems to happen with this couple, they report it back to Sunshine Sachs. As I said, usually Elizabeth E. Thorpe, who swings into action. They really should be more careful, because their footprints, well, better still, their slime, the slug's slime, is very visible. It's all over the internet. And they need to be careful, because they might come a cropper with somebody who has the intelligence, the will, the experience, the ability, including financial ability, to not only take them on, but bring them down, especially in America, where they could be looking at a lawsuit in terms of tortious interference of some sort or the other, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Can you think of what you'd like to do with $100 or $200 million? I can. D.D. Hart says, fig leaf of misremembrances, quotes. That seems to be something I said. Everyone saw this, including Harry. I believe Harry saw Meghan coming from a mile off, and subconsciously or consciously he wanted, big block capitals, this to happen to his family, because this is how disturbed this kid is and always has been. Even worse, Harry has let Meghan take the blame for most of it while he hides behind her skirts. I had a lot less respect for Harry than I do for Meghan. An operator is an operator, and very rarely are they sorry for being this way. Harry, however, has used her to be his hitman and also his scapegoat. I believe the royal family tried to improve his reputation by over-glorifying his role in the military. Harry is as Harry always was, a worm. She wants to know what I think. I think Meghan has released his dark side. I think Meghan has given him permission. Some of us are just more eager to indulge it than others. It has to do with conscience, scruple, morality, ethics, a question of right and wrong, empathy. It has to do with a host of things. But basically, it comes down to conscience. And I think Harry has been happy, or certainly has been willing to indulge his dark side. As he said in Oprah, Meghan had taught him, Meghan had released him, Meghan had disentrapped him. So we can see her fingerprints over the whole thing by his own admission. Does this absolve him? No, it doesn't. Does this excuse his conduct? No, it doesn't. Would Harry have done this had he married any of the nice girls he went out with before? I don't think so. I really don't think so. So I cannot, in all honesty, say that Harry was ready and waiting and looking for an opportunity to become the man he has become, as he has very proudly told us he's going to write a book about. Not the prince he was, but the man he now is. I don't think that the man he now is would be this person he is, or would bear any resemblance to what he is now, as had he married anybody else. So no, I think it's FOLIE A DEUX, but I think Meghan was the trigger. But it doesn't alter the fact that he had this within him. You know, nobody could get me to do certain things. Nobody. When I was 24, I could have married one of the richest men on earth. I didn't love him. Well, to put it another way, I didn't love him enough. I was very fond of him, but I didn't love him enough to marry him. Several friends of mine said to me, don't be crazy, marry him. You can leave him in 2 or 3 years if you get fed up or if it doesn't work out. You know, don't say no. I couldn't do it. It would have been unfair to him, and it would have been unfair to me, because I would have been, as what George Bernard Shaw and the Duchess were speaking about, when he told her, Madam, we have established what you are, we're simply haggling over the price. There are certain things one doesn't do. I wouldn't kill anybody. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't hurt an animal. Would I, Mickey? Not a chance. I think we all know there are certain things we just wouldn't do. When I was growing up, and I knew that the only option I had was suicide unless my problems were solved. And I could have solved the problems very easily. Business associates of my father used to give me thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to take out from Jamaica to New York in cash for them. I mean, maybe 4, 5, 6 times what I needed. It never once occurred to me to pocket any of the money, even though my father would have been morally obliged to make good on what I'd run off with. There are certain things decent people just don't do. No matter the inducement, whether it's one of the world's greatest fortunes on earth, or indeed whether it is the possibility of a life as opposed to a non-life. I hope I've made the point. I hope you've got what I mean. K. Pax says, I wonder if Diana was still alive and if she did not approve of Meghan, would Harry disavow her and disparage her like he has done with his father, Prince Charles, and his brother, Prince William? What are your thoughts on this, Lady C? I would be very interested to hear your opinion on this question. Well, he has done his utmost to damage the father he was supposed to love and the brother he was supposed to love. And he and his brother were very close. I think we can safely conclude off the way he has treated his father and his brother that if his mother were alive, she wouldn't be spared. Why would she be spared? If you've been happy to throw your father and your brother to the wolves, why would you not throw your mother? I don't think that any of this would be happening if his mother were alive, because I honestly don't think that his path would ever have crossed with Meghan's. I think the whole course of his life would have been entirely different. And I honestly do not think there is any way that a creature of Meghan's category would have had any appeal to him had his mother remained living. Let me put it like that. But if someone else or something else had triggered the Iscariot within him, if he's betrayed 2, why would he not betray 3? A traitor is a traitor is a traitor. A rose is a rose is a rose. A decent man is a decent man is a decent man. And on that note, I will say, thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions coming in. God bless and goodbye.